You ever have one of those moments where something so stupid happens it feels like a prank? Yeah. That was me the day I got a letter from my HOA. Apparently, I was in violation because my garden gnome was disrupting the uniform aesthetic of the neighborhood. A garden gnome. It wasn't neon, it wasn't flashing lights. Just a small, happy guy holding a sunflower by my porch. The letter came from Karen Delaney, our HOA president, a woman who practically saluted the rulebook every morning. She signed it with a flourish. Please remove the offending decoration within 72 hours to avoid fines. I laughed. Out loud. My mom, who's wheelchair-bound after a stroke, laughed too. Maybe your gnome offended her, she joked. I ignored it. Big mistake. 2 days later, Karen showed up on my porch, clipboard in hand, sunglasses like she was auditioning for the movie. She snapped photos of my gnome, my lawn, even my mailbox. Just doing my job, she said when I opened the door. I told her I'd get around to it. Her lips tightened like she was physically holding back rage. That night, another letter appeared, this time hand-delivered. Failure to comply will result in escalating fines and legal action. Legal action? Over a gnome. I remember thinking, if she's this mad over a ceramic decoration, I can't wait to see what happens when she realizes who she's actually dealing with. By the next week, I was apparently a full-blown criminal. Another letter arrived, this time citing me for unauthorized lawn color variance. See, my grass had a few yellow spots because I'd been busy taking care of my mom. She'd had a bad week with her physical therapy, so watering the lawn wasn't exactly top priority. But Karen, she thought I was plotting to destroy the neighborhood aesthetic. Your lawn appears discolored and patchy. Immediate action is required. Failure to comply may result in a lien on your property. A lien? For grass. I wanted to frame that letter. My mom said, you should start a scrapbook. Call it Karen's Greatest Hits. I decided to start documenting everything. I took pictures, videos, timestamps, the works. I even recorded Karen's next visit, where she literally knelt down to measure my grass height with a ruler. 3.5 inches, she muttered. Unacceptable. I swear she had HOA rules memorized like the Constitution. When I asked where the rulebook was posted, she snapped. Homeowners are expected to know the rules. That's when I started digging. Turns out, a lot of those rules weren't even in the official bylaws, they were just suggested guidelines Karen personally enforced. I sent an email asking for clarification. She replied with one sentence. Non-compliance will not be tolerated. I decided then this wasn't about grass or gnomes. This was about power. And Karen Delaney loved power. It was a Saturday morning when I saw them. 2 guys in black polo shirts with HOA enforcement, printed in big white letters. They pulled up in a white SUV that looked suspiciously like a cop car with stickers slapped on it. They strutted around my property like they owned the place. One of them even had a fake badge clipped to his belt. My mom watched from the window. Who are they? I said. Karen's henchmen, apparently. They knocked. Hard. Open up, HOA inspection, one yelled. I almost laughed. You got a warrant? I asked through the door. He said, we don't need one. This is HOA property. Buddy, I've handled real law enforcement. These guys were playing dress up. I opened the door halfway. You're trespassing, I said. Step off my porch. They didn't move. Instead, one took out his phone and started recording me. Failure to comply with HOA authority can result in immediate penalties, he said. Like he was quoting a script. My mom wheeled up behind me, worried. Is everything okay? That's when one of them yelled, Ma'am, stay back, and actually reached for pepper spray. Before I could react, he sprayed and hit my mom. She screamed. I saw red. They froze, realizing they'd gone too far. Called 911. That was the last day Karen's HOA cops played pretend. The police arrived within minutes. Real police. I showed them everything, the fake badges, the SUV, the footage. My mom was crying, her face red and burning. One officer helped her rinse her eyes while another spoke to the fake enforcers. Karen arrived halfway through, shouting. They were authorized by the HO. The cop looked at her like she'd lost her mind. Ma'am, impersonating law enforcement is a felony. She went pale. I didn't tell them to, she started, but the taller officer interrupted. Save it for the report. My mom was taken to urgent care. Luckily, no permanent damage, just irritation. But I was fuming. Karen tried to apologize the next day, leaving a note on my door. It was an unfortunate misunderstanding. Please don't escalate this further. It reflects poorly on the neighborhood. I laughed so hard I almost choked. Reflects poorly on the neighborhood? Lady, your fake cops assaulted a disabled woman. I replied with my own letter. Any further harassment will be handled through my office. No signature. Just my title. State Attorney General. The silence from her afterward was golden. But deep down I knew this wasn't over. Karen wasn't the kind to admit defeat. She was the kind to double down. And sure enough, the war was just beginning. 2 weeks later, a notice appeared on every door in the neighborhood. Emergency HOA meeting. Addressing homeowner misconduct and safety concerns. Guess who was the homeowner? Yeah, me. Karen was trying to spin her mistake into a smear campaign. I showed up to the clubhouse with a file folder thicker than a novel, full of photos, timestamps, and legal citations. The room was packed. Some neighbors whispered, others avoided eye contact. Karen stood at the front with her clipboard army. She started with a speech about community unity and the importance of respecting authority. Then she looked right at me. Some homeowners have been antagonistic toward HOA representatives, she said, creating hostility in our peaceful community. I raised my hand. You mean the fake police who assaulted my disabled mom? Gasps. Karen stammered. That was an unfortunate incident. Unfortunate. I repeated. You authorized 2 unlicensed civilians to impersonate law enforcement. She tried to move on, but I stood. Actually, I've submitted an official report to the county. They're investigating the HOA's misuse of authority and funds. That got everyone's attention. Neighbors started murmuring. One asked, wait, funds? I nodded. You might want to check how much Karen's been paying herself from HOA dues. Karen's face drained of color. I had her right where I wanted her. That night, after the meeting chaos, I got 3 anonymous texts. All from neighbors. All saying the same thing. You were right. Check the HOA's second account. Turns out, Karen had opened a maintenance fund account, but it wasn't in the HOA's name. It was in hers. She'd been funneling community fees for landscaping upgrades, which apparently meant new patio furniture for her backyard. I filed a formal subpoena request the next morning. When the bank documents came in, my jaw dropped. Over $48,000 in unaccounted fees. Karen had been using HOA money like her personal credit card. The best part? She'd paid her fake HOA cops out of that same account. I didn't even need to dig further. The paper trail spoke for itself. So I did what any petty, legally armed homeowner would do. I printed the statements, highlighted everything, and anonymously taped copies to the clubhouse bulletin board. By noon, the neighborhood group chat exploded. Messages like, is this real? And Karen, explain this, flooded in. She tried damage control, claimed the documents were taken out of context. But when you're buying patio furniture labeled personal use, context doesn't help much. I knew the endgame was near. I just had to give her enough rope to hang herself. And she was about to grab it with both hands. By morning, Karen's damage control went from frantic to pathetic. She sent out a neighborhood-wide email titled, Miscommunication and Misinformation, a clarification from your HOA president. In it, she claimed a hacker must have created fake bank documents to make her look bad. She even said my background in law made me a suspicious candidate. I laughed so hard I spilled my coffee. You can't hack your way into a real bank stamp, Karen. Neighbors started turning. One, Mr. Patel, texted me. We paid $400 last year for tree trimming that never happened. Another neighbor added. Karen said she was hiring security for the clubhouse. Those were the fake cops, weren't they? Oh yes. They were connecting the dots. That week I called a special audit. As State Attorney General, I didn't even have to try hard. One phone call and the HOA's finances were officially under review. When the auditors arrived, Karen acted like it was a social visit. Can I offer you coffee? She chirped, smiling too wide. Ma'am, we'll need access to all records from the past 3 fiscal years, one auditor replied. The look on her face was priceless. For once, she couldn't hide behind rules, fines, or fake authority. Now it was my turn to enforce something: accountability. Word spread like wildfire. By the end of the week, half the neighborhood had joined a group chat called Free the HOA. It was beautiful chaos: screenshots of fines, copies of fake violation letters, even Karen's passive-aggressive texts. One message stood out. She fined me $75 because my mailbox flag was too shiny. People were furious, not just at Karen, but at the entire culture she'd created. Fear, threats, fake rules, it was all unraveling. I stayed quiet in the chat, letting everyone vent. Then, when the timing was right, I posted a simple message. Audit results coming soon. Stay tuned. Within hours, Karen called me, voice trembling. "You're ruining this community," she hissed. "You'll regret this." I replied calmly, "Karen, I'm just enforcing the law. Like you taught me." That shut her up. A few neighbors even approached me in person, thanking me. One elderly lady, Mrs. Dugan, said she'd been fined for having a wind chime. She said it violated the sound uniformity rule, she whispered. I swear Karen was one passive-aggressive emperor. But the people had spoken. When the audit revealed $63,000 in unaccounted expenditures, the HOA board couldn't ignore it. They called for an emergency re-election. Karen refused to step down, so we voted her out unanimously. The reign of Karen was over. At least that's what I thought. 2 days after she was removed, I found a fresh note taped to my door. No signature. Just, "You'll pay for what you did." Cute. Later that night, I caught someone on my security camera throwing eggs at my garage, wearing a hoodie and driving a familiar white SUV. Karen's old HOA enforcement car. I could have ignored it, but no, this woman had pepper sprayed my mom and embezzled funds. She wasn't getting a free pass. I turned over the footage to the police. A warrant followed. They found the fake badges, HOA-branded shirts, and financial ledgers in her garage. Turns out she'd been keeping backup files, aka evidence of her crimes. But when they arrested her, she screamed like a villain in a movie. "This is harassment. I'm the president." The officer replied flatly, "Not anymore, ma'am." My mom watched the footage later and said, "Justice looks good on you, honey." It did. But I wasn't satisfied yet. There was still the matter of all the fines she'd unfairly issued, hundreds of dollars stolen from innocent neighbors. So I went one step further. I sued the HOA. Yes, the entire organization. And that's when the real storm hit. Courtroom day felt like walking onto a movie set. Cameras, reporters, and curious neighbors packed the benches. Everyone wanted to see Karen versus me. The rematch. She showed up in a bright red blazer like she was auditioning for a political campaign. Her lawyer looked exhausted already. The judge began. "We're here to address financial misconduct and unlawful impersonation under the HOA's direction." Karen smirked. "Your Honor, this is a personal vendetta." I stood. "Your Honor, may I present Exhibit A?" I handed over photos, bank statements, forged badges, and emails with her digital signature authorizing security patrols. Her face went white. Then came Exhibit B, the audit report. Every dollar, every shady transaction, all tied to her. She tried to interrupt, but the judge shut her down. "Mrs. Delaney, you will remain silent." For once, Karen obeyed. When it was my turn to testify, I kept my tone calm and measured. I spoke about my mom, about the pepper spray, about the fake cops. The courtroom was dead silent. When I finished, the judge leaned forward. "Mrs. Delaney," he said, "you abused your position and your neighbor's trust. You will repay the stolen funds and are barred from holding any HOA office indefinitely." I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just looked at her and said, "Justice served." The courtroom clapped. Even the judge didn't stop them. Karen's fall from grace was swift and messy. Within 48 hours, the HOA website scrubbed her name. The local paper ran a headline. "Former HOA president faces fraud charges after pepper spray scandal." She became the neighborhood ghost. Her once perfect yard grew weeds, her mailbox overflowed, and no one answered her door. Meanwhile, I was elected interim HOA president by unanimous vote. "Please," I said during the meeting, "I'll serve on one condition: we make this place livable again." We rewrote the bylaws. Out went uniform grass height, mailbox color codes, and garden decor limits. In came reasonable maintenance and community respect. People were actually smiling again. We even had a block barbecue. My mom attended in her wheelchair, smiling as neighbors brought her desserts. One said, "You're the reason we can finally hang Christmas lights again." It was wholesome, peaceful, until Karen drove by. She stopped at the corner watching from her car, bitter, broken, but still full of that same fire. She sped off without a word. Part of me pitied her. The other part of me thought she earned every second of this. If you thought Karen was done, think again. A few weeks later, she popped up online, on a Facebook group called Real HOA Justice. Guess who the admin was? Yep. She posted rants about how she was wrongfully accused and set up by corrupt officials. She even made a video titled "The Truth About My HOA Nightmare." It had 5 views, one of them was mine. In it, she cried about being bullied by a power-hungry lawyer, "Hi, that's me," and claimed the pepper spray never happened. So I commented using my verified profile. "Want me to post the body cam footage, Karen?" She deleted the video within 10 minutes. Neighbors roasted her in the comments. Someone wrote, "Karen, the only thing you're a victim of is yourself." It was the digital nail in her coffin. After that, she vanished from social media. Meanwhile, our neighborhood thrived. Kids played outside again, lawns had actual personality, and nobody feared random fines for existing. My mom started gardening again, and yes, she placed the gnome right back by the porch. Every morning I look at it and think this tiny ceramic guy survived the HOA war. Symbol of peace indeed. Karen's house eventually went up for sale. Rumor had it she was moving to Florida, where all retired HOA villains apparently go. When the for sale sign appeared, neighbors cheered. One even brought champagne. But I didn't celebrate. Not really. Because as much as I disliked her, Karen had exposed something bigger. How easily people surrender power to bullies with clipboards. So we restructured the HOA entirely. No more arbitrary fines. Every rule now needed a 2/3 majority vote. Transparency was law. We even introduced something new. Community suggestion days, where residents could propose changes. My mom suggested more benches near the park for people with disabilities. Passed unanimously. The first time she rolled up to one of those benches, smiling in the sunlight, I felt something lift off my shoulders. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about rebuilding what Karen broke. I guess sometimes justice doesn't just punish, teaches. And in our case, it healed. About 6 months later, I got a knock on the door. I opened it, and there she was. Karen. Thinner, quieter, holding an envelope. Before I could say a word, she said, "I came to apologize." I didn't buy it immediately. For what specifically? She took a deep breath. For all of it. The rules. The fake police. The pepper spray. She looked down. I lost everything. My job, my reputation. But I realized I needed to own it. For the first time, she sounded human. I accepted the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note and a check. "Restitution," she said softly. "The last of what I owed the neighborhood." My mom wheeled up behind me. "We forgive you," she said gently. Karen's eyes welled up. "Thank you." And just like that, she walked away. No drama. No shouting. Just closure. Maybe people really can change, even Karen's. Life returned to normal, or better than normal. The HOA became a real community, not a dictatorship. People actually helped each other instead of reporting each other. We had potlucks, festivals, even a gnome garden contest, in honor of the decoration that started it all. My mom's gnome won first place. Every so often, new residents asked, "So what happened with the old president?" We just laugh. Long story. Sometimes I'd catch my mom telling the tale dramatically. And that's when my son, the state attorney general, brought justice down on them like a hammer. The whole neighborhood would cheer. Funny how a nightmare can turn into a legacy. Our street, once controlled by fear, was now full of laughter and light. And every time I see a garden gnome, I smile. Because behind that tiny grin is a reminder. No matter how loud a Karen shouts, truth always wins. The gnome stands guard. It's been a year now. Karen's gone, the HOA is fair. And my mom's garden has never looked better. Every morning I sit on the porch with coffee, watching the sunrise hit that little gnome, the one that survived the war. Sometimes I think about how absurd it all was. finds fake cops pepper spray over a ceramic figure in some grass. But then I remember, power without accountability always spirals. Karen thought she was untouchable. Until she messed with the wrong family. Until she messed with my mom. Now peace finally feels earned. My mom calls the gnome Justice. Fitting name. Because around here Justice still stands, right on our porch smiling at the world. And if you listen close enough, you can almost hear him whisper, "Don't mess with the HOA. Unless you're ready to lose."